Sagittarius, after two not particularly positive readings, for the month of February it looks a lot better. Central card there, you're scoring some victories. There might be small victories, it's not the end of things, but you're scoring them. You're getting public recognition, maybe public admiration, so things feel a lot better. In the past, I think you were blessed, but maybe all alone. Maybe blessed with wealth even, but all alone. You're now learning something, probably skills that you think will be useful in the future. Developing something for the future. Might be a bit laborious, but you know it's worth it. In the future, you're going to be realising that you're nearly home. You've nearly reached, I think, an end of a cycle. You have learned the lessons. You might not think you have, but I'm sure you have. And it's been a bit of a struggle. A part of the struggle is you've maybe not handled things as well as you should. But that's all part of our learning, you know. And the energy that leads to the outcome is you at last finding a balance, finding a sense of direction, feeling that you need to move on at a pace. What would change the outcome? And I always see this as positive, but I also see the outcome as positive. So maybe it's saying it doesn't matter whether you get the sense of direction or you do it this way. But that is to jettison the baggage of the past, and to move on. Now, if you remember last month we talked of a narcissist. So this is moving on from the narcissist, forgetting about it and moving on, which is very positive. If you follow the sort of sense of direction, I think you get to the same place really, and that is temperance, the outcome. And I think the temperance is about you showing an understanding, a compassion of what has happened, and not being judgmental on it, just seeing it as a part of life's learning. So it looks interesting, it looks positive. Let's get into it, Sagittarius. Overall energy is one of you scoring some victories. Slow progress, you know, one victory after another, one day after another. But you are scoring them, and as long as you recognise that, it's very positive. It's an energy that runs out all the other energies. It also means that people will be recognising that you're making progress, and probably there's a degree of admiration for you, which must feel good after all you've been through. As I say, this characterises the reading. So the reading is one of progress from two really quite bad readings. So it's definitely positive, definitely positive. In the past, I do think you received blessings, and maybe you're beginning to understand it now that you're sort of making progress and moving on. I think you were by yourself. Well, you know, you were betrayed, so that would lead you to being by yourself. But as I say, you're making progress now, and maybe part of that progress is even understanding that things weren't as bad in the past as maybe they felt at the time. Often a good way of forgetting the past or forgetting your hurt, is to throw yourself into something new, such as learning a new skill, learning in general. And I think that's what you're doing. You're throwing yourself into probably learning a new skill. It's probably a little bit laborious, but it's probably something that you feel will be useful in the future. But I think the real relevance of this is it takes your mind off what it's been on and allows you to focus on something else. And I think that's a very positive thing to be doing. And I think this progress that we can see is based on the fact that you're not dwelling on the past, that you are moving on, you are doing positive things. So I do see this as a very good sign. In the future, there is a sense of completion. So I think you're even beginning to see what has happened to you, and where you're heading now is a completion, an end of a cycle and a new cycle beginning. And you can see the end in sight now. You're nearly there, you know you're nearly there. You know things have been something of a struggle for you, and they have, you know. Maybe you could have handled things better, but yeah, it's not the way to treat this, you know. Just move on, you know. But yeah, maybe you could have done some things better, but it's all part of learning, and I think you're understanding that. So therefore, it's not about saying, how could I have done it better? It's more about how could I have approached things differently. So it's not about the technique, it's more about the approach, if you like. But the great news is you're so nearly there, you know, it's just about over. In the energy that leads to the outcome, there is every indication that you've changed, that you are able to move on. You've got this sense of balance. You've got a sense of urgency, to be, if the truth be known, and a sense of direction. So incredibly positive. At last you seem to know what you're doing, where you're going, and why. I have been spotting this energy recently and worried that it's the wrong sense of direction, but I don't think it even matters for you, Pisces. What's important is you're not wallowing in the past. You've got the bit between the teeth, you're moving on, and yeah, you know you've nearly got across the line, as it were, and that's what's so important. An alternative route, but I think they lead to the same thing anyway, but probably even quicker than this Chariot, which has a sense of pace, you know, a real sense of pace. But alternative route to moving on is to literally move away from your past, move away from what has happened, and to dump the baggage. And, you know, if I'm right about a narcissist, that is the best thing to do. You have to go no contact. You have to throw away all the baggage, stop thinking about them. Because if you're still thinking about them, they still have control over you. So you literally dump the baggage. Forget that they ever meant anything to you, you know? And completely move on in your life. And it's an alternative, and it's an alternative way of doing it. But I think you're going to get there anyway, so it probably doesn't matter. And the outcome, and remember this is the outcome from the Chariot, the outcome is temperance. So I think this is a very similar energy to moving on and dumping the baggage. But it's more an energy of tolerance, an energy of acceptance, an energy of realizing that, yeah, some people are narcissists. I know it's not pleasant, and I have experience of it, you know. Narcissistic abuse isn't at all pleasant. It's not at all nice. But the moment you can understand, well, some people are like that, and that was a part of my learning on this earth. There's nothing I can do about them, you know. There's nothing I can do about them. But I do understand that people are like that now. So, you know, I think this is a wonderful tale of you recovering from what's happened. And we can summarise for you now. Sagittarius, the last couple of months haven't been good for you. In fact, I'm pretty certain you were recovering from a narcissist. And February's reading seems to be about that recovery. You are scoring some smallish victories, and people are recognising that you're scoring those victories. And if you like, you know, I mean, if you think of Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, one day at a time, and that's what it is. Score those little victories and be thankful for each victory. It's not going to happen overnight. And I think you're looking at the past now more compassionately. You're realising that you did have blessings. Maybe you felt you were left all by yourself, but there were positive things from your past. And what you're doing right now is you're throwing yourself into something. I think it's learning a new skill. But it doesn't really matter what it is, because it's taking your mind off that, oh, if only I'd done this, if only I'd done that, I wonder about this, I wonder, you know. If it's taking your mind off it, then it's wonderful. And that's the important thing about it. I think you probably are learning a skill that might be useful in the future. But the real benefit is now. It's just something to occupy your mind. And it does see you this month emerging with the bit between your teeth, with a sense of balance, a sense of direction, a sense of purpose, and a sense of pace. And again, you know, that is so indicative of healing, so indicative of your moving on. And as a result of that, you will sort of be able to look at what's happened and say, well, yeah, I've learned from that. Not seek retribution, not seek change, just say, yeah, it was all a part of learning. An alternative way, and I don't think it matters, although this way is quicker, and that is to move on, completely forget about them, and dump all the baggage, you know. Completely go no contact, dump all the baggage. But you're going to get there anyway, I'm pretty certain, because in the future you're very nearly home. So I think you're very nearly closing off this cycle and going to begin a new cycle. And yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle. It has, and maybe you've not approached it as well as you might. But you know that that's part of the learning. You know you were meant to learn something in this life, and that was a part of your learning. So be thankful.